dominated the Gulf Cooperation Council summit in Riyadh this week. Today, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman called for a place at the table in Vienna, where international nuclear talks are taking place. The GCC also called for action to curb what it called Hezbollah's terrorist activities in Lebanon, and it vowed to diversify its economies as well. Well, tonight we're joined from Bahrain by Abdullah Ali Junaid, a political commentator and journalist, and here in the studio, Samuel SHAY is the president of Gulf Technology Systems and the chairman of the Israel-UAE Business Forum. Good evening to you both. And Abdullah, I'll start with you if I may. First of all, what do you make of that proposal by the Saudi Crown Prince to get involved in the nuclear talks with Iran? Would that be helpful?
Good evening, Laura, and thank you for having me again. It's not something new. Actually, on the starting of the talks, or the resumption of the talks, the Biden administration did promise Saudi Arabia and UAE both chairs at that table in Vienna. And later on, they were asked at least to, forfeit or give up those chairs for some time until things could be worked out more in line with the objectives of the talks. But at the present time, we think here in the Gulf that we may have a runaway train, and this sort of attrition of time could push the Biden administration to sign something of a deal resembles what triggered this current talks. So we have to be represented. We are at the forefront of Iran policies and threats.
And Samuel SHAY, is it disappointing for Israel that its new Gulf allies like the UAE are not taking a tougher stance against Iran?
Well, I don't think we can ask them to do it. After all, the Emiratis and the Saudis and Bahrainian are actually the neighbors of the Iranian that are in the region, and they definitely have more into it than Israel. After all, we need to understand around all this issue, I think the GCC area is much more into the negotiation with Iran than in Israel. So eventually, we cannot ask them to take a side or to oppose it or to do something like this, because definitely they also need to take care about their own diplomacy.
Abdullah, has there been a complete turnaround from the Gulf states in terms of the JCPOA, particularly the UAE, which actually wanted the deal to fall apart a year ago, and they now want it revived, even if that means sanctions relief for Iran? That can have a knock-on effect in the region, couldn't it?
Let me just comment on your previous question to your guest at the studio. Sure. First of all, we've been on the receiving end, and we've been dealing with Iran since 1979. So we know how to handle Iran, and we can contain all the threats of Iran, collectively with our allies or independently. But now definitely we should shoulder a little bit more. And that's why the call by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia to be presented as being promised. This is our right to be there at that table, to make sure that we receive a first-hand information about what's going on, and not a second-hand information from any of the parties at talks. Everybody have their own interest with regard to this issue of Iran. Now, is this a departure point? No, it's not a departure point. We were supportive of any international efforts that may get this objective reached. But when everybody and every message that we are been hearing for the past few months, that this those talks in Vienna are dead ship in the sea. And
Samuel SHAY, let's talk about the Abraham Accords then, because this is the first GCC summit, of course, since those agreements were signed. Do you think they've played a part? Do you think they influenced what was talked about this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after all, the Abraham Accord started a process with the Emirates and Bahrain. Eventually, we hope that Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, and Kuwait will join to those agreements. Hopefully, maybe, who knows, maybe in the future Iran and some other countries will join into this peace agreement.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, but it's a good gate. We need to understand that the GCC is a good gate to the region, and it's very important. I mean, those countries have a major role, as my friends say, in the region, and they definitely need to be involved. And I think as far as the Abraham Accord is a good start, and it's definitely has some influence on all the situation.
Abdullah, do you see any sign that other countries are willing to sign normalization deals with Israel?
I think what we need to concentrate on is making sure that those accords continue to play a more significant role in shaping up the policies of this region. And we have a great example to show, especially if we jointly approach the international community. And I believe your Prime Minister, during his visit to Abu Dhabi, he's definitely briefed the Crown Prince of UAE of Abu Dhabi about the development that took place in Washington during the talks of your Minister of Defense and the Mossad and other. So what we need to do is, one, politically, we need to shape a real, clear stand from what those talks should represent to us and by us. Two, with regard to the Abraham Accords, would it entice other countries to, jump and join us on this train? I believe it could, because all the indications, social, political, economical development, long-term research, all of these are being exhibited through fine and very good examples.
Abdullah Al-Junaid in Bahrain and Samuel SHAY here in the studio. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you very much, and happy National Day to Bahrain.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.